Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to my podcast, Spiritual Talk with Christy Godwin and Friends. I am your resident psychic medium, Christy Godwin, and I want to welcome my beautiful friend, colleague, business associate. I don't know. What else can I say about this wonderful, wonderful human being walking this planet with me, Iris Libby. Thank you for being here, Iris.
Thank you so much, Christy.
Iris is a phenomenal astrologer, psychic medium, but we are here today to talk about how to rebuild your tribe when you go through a spiritual awakening. That can be a very difficult process. So, Iris, can you kick us off talking about what your spiritual awakening was like for you?
Well, I have to say that my spiritual awakening has really been in stages. It's not something that happens overnight. And each level of awakening, it's always well, it typically happens for me, and I can only speak for myself and a lot of clients that I work with when something is removed from your life or you lose something big in your life. And those are the times for me and most of the people that I work with that people are searching for something else. So, I think COVID was a big spiritual awakening for a lot of people. It changed the trajectory of many of our lives. I know for me, I went from New York, where I lived, to Florida, to California, and I had never planned on really living in any of those places.
You know,
Um,
that,
Go ahead.
that's very true. And COVID was huge in our society. It brought so many changes to light, and you were with people all the time that we had not had to deal with all the time, which blew up some relationships, made others closer. And I know that also some people, which was mine, will have a gradual spiritual awakening. It's like you take a couple of steps up and you're on that level for a little while, exploring books, information, and I want to encourage everyone to honor their own spiritual awakening. It's so different for everyone. Have you found that, Iris, that everyone has their own way?
It's true. It's true. So, me, for instance, like during COVID, I needed something to do. So, I ended up like taking a psychic medium class, which totally changed my whole life and my spirituality. I could go back into every area of my life and say, oh, this happened. And it was always when I was seeking for something else. Because let's face it, many times the status quo does not make us grow.
Yes. It is, you're right. When we get comfortable, we don't keep searching. We're not challenged to level up. It's what I like to call it. Now, Iris, how about some of the challenges you experienced in some of your relationships as a result of your spiritual awakening?
Well, what happened with me is that, I had several long-term friends leave my life, and some of them I pushed out because we were no longer aligned. We weren't aligned in all the ways. The things that brought us together changed. And these are like 20, 24, 25-year relationships. And I find that you come to a point where, in a friendship, there's a lot of give and take, and there's needs that you each have. And when that changes in a relationship, it's like, but you've got this long-term relationship, these friends that you've had forever. And I think that the challenge is letting go of those friendships and letting go of those relationships. And it leaves a big hole in your heart.
It really does. Letting go of friendships can be so hurtful, just as hurtful or more hurtful than letting go of a romantic partner. And I want to, you know, just talk a little bit about when you're letting go of these relationships, it doesn't mean that one person is wrong and the other is right. It just means you now have different goals. You now have different standards of behavior. And Doesn't make one of you right and one of you wrong. It just means you're going on a different path. And I think a lot of people struggle with that down period where you have released some of the old friends, but you haven't rebuilt and found your new tribe yet. Did you experience some of that?
Oh my God, yes. And it's so difficult because you know that certain relationships are no longer right for you. So in one case, a close friend betrayed me. And, it left, I want to say, I felt like a bombed out shelter when that relationship left my heart. And, that person filled a certain, like, we had needs, you know what I mean? Like we did things together. We talked all the time. We traveled together. And then all of a sudden, all of that is gone. And then you start searching for something else or for other people with the same interests. And as you get older, a lot of people are challenged to meet people. They're challenged to meet new people, to meet romantic partners, to get out there because you don't socialize the way you used to. And even with younger people today, because so much stuff is done online, they're not socializing to the extent that we did growing up.
Absolutely. That's so true. And you know what I have seen that I want to, I'm sure everyone's going to recognize this. Either they've done it or they know someone who has. When you know a relationship isn't right for you and you let go of it and it leaves this empty hole, the tendency to go back to a relationship that is not healthy for you just because of the uncomfortable feeling that this loss has left in your life. I've seen people do it with romantic relationships and with friendships. And I would just want to encourage people to hold that space for a while, hold that space, allow yourself to heal, and allow the universe to deliver something better to you. Have you noticed that, Iris?
Yes, and I want to say something else is that sometimes people leave your life and then they come back in later. So I have this instance where there was someone who was a friend who worked for me, and we were like 7 or 8 years, very, very close. We had a falling out based on work. Years later, she contacted me, apologized. We rekindled our friendship, and it is stronger and more beautiful than ever. And sometimes you need to take a break so that you can both grow in different directions. And then I apologized for my behavior at that time. She apologized for hers. I apologized for mine. And, it's like we both admit that it was a good thing that happened. But while it's happening, it's not so much fun.
It isn't. And yes, I love instances like that. It doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
But I think I know who Iris is talking about. It wasn't a moral issue. It wasn't a falling out of integrity or anything like that. Those are the instances where typically those people coming back in your life, unless they have changed significantly, it will not be a good thing because if you're on different moral paths or have different integrity boundaries, you're never going to be able to.
And
Um,
Christy, that's very important is integrity and morals. And I've had those issues with some friends of mine where my morals and integrity it didn't align with theirs. I'm not saying I'm better or they're better, but it was not aligned. And in that case, unless those people change, there's no way I would let them back in my life because I feel like our paths are not the same. And I find the more I align myself with people that are spiritually on the same path, I don't have to agree with them about everything. But if we're spiritually and morally on the same path, I feel like we can work anything out.
Absolutely. Yes. I mean, Iris and I have been friends for quite some time. We are business partners. We've had disagreements, but because we are aligned morally and our integrity is in alignment, we're able to talk through things and get to the other side of it stronger. We allow each other to have our own opinions. Now, I also want to ask you, Iris, now people have, let's just say someone's on this path, they've lost some friends. How do they rebuild their tribe? That's what this is about. How would you suggest them help finding new people?
Well, I can say for me, I do things that I'm interested in. So I might take classes. I joined TM at one time to start meditating. You meet people there. I go to places and do things, volunteering.
Yeah,
There are things that you can do where you're doing things that you love to find like-minded people. And I want to say it works so well. When I took this psychic medium class, I was able, it was a 9-month course. It was with Lisa Williams. We both, that's where we met.
mhm.
And it totally, like, I was able to rebuild a tribe through the people I met there. Now, I've done other things where I didn't connect and I wasn't able to, but I was doing what I loved. And that's what's most important. And I find for me, I'm an astrologer, I have a Sag moon. And when I get emotionally upset, I need to travel or learn something, travel with my mind. And so for me, traveling with my mind, with like-minded people, really makes me happy because I'm not doing it to meet someone. I'm doing it because I'm interested,
Yeah,
and meeting people is a byproduct of doing what you love.
yeah, absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree with Iris. Same, that's how I started building my tribe. And then also, I teach psychic mediumship classes. I it's so beautiful when I see my students who, I've been teaching classes now for years, who are still in contact with each other. I also have something called the Divine Collective. It's a monthly subscription program where we meet up every month and we're able to create a safe place. Now, you don't certainly have to do that through me. You can do it through whatever you like. I know some people who have a heart for animals, so they volunteer at Humane Society or a food bank. It's just whatever feeds your soul that you're interested in, volunteer. I know that we have a tendency sometimes to get into that hermit mode whenever we are sad over, losing friendships. But it's so important to put ourselves out there and to be around like-minded people. I want to talk to everyone about something called entrainment. Entrainment is when two items start vibrating at the same level. If you have two tuning forks and they're at different levels, but the closer you put them together, they will eventually start vibrating at the same level. So you want to make sure that you're surrounding yourself with people who have your value system, who vibrate as the same as you, who hold the same things sacred that you do. Now, Iris, I know that most of us who are on the spiritual path have encountered what I'm about to ask you about. How would you encourage people to communicate about this new path they're on?
Well, I feel that for me, living my life in integrity shows that. So I don't have to walk around and say I'm on a new spiritual path. I do tell people what I'm doing, right? But
Right.
I find that once I change, my vibration change and I attract different people. So for instance, I was at a party last night and I met probably about 20 people that I didn't know. Why did I vibrate with certain people and not with others? And I feel like they are spiritually, morally aligned with me. Now, everyone was nice, and I talked to everyone at the party, but I find that the ones that I vibrated with were the ones that I have common interests with. And you only know that by talking with people. And, while there were other people that were very lovely and friendly and, outgoing. And by the way, I'm an introvert, even though I seem like an extrovert, I'm very shy. I know that doesn't make sense, but I am. And it's sometimes it's difficult for me. I imagine myself, and I'm talking about this for all the shy people out there who have a problem, but when I walk into the room, I close my eyes and I imagine myself diving off a diving board and just say, go for it. And I take a deep breath and I walk in the room and I start to talk to people. And many times I am scared, that what if they reject me? What if they don't like me? What if I'm not good enough? But I find that as long as I'm living my true self and standing, like being me, that everything falls into place.
And I want to everyone who's watching this, to it would be hard if you know Iris to know that those are the thoughts that go in her head, because she is usually very much the center of attention, very, speaking her mind. So it's lovely to hear someone be honest about what goes on in their head when that's not what you see on the outside. So I want to thank Iris for being so honest about that. I also want to address some of the problems that come up when people have been, they're completely switching paths to become more spiritual. They're changing the path from, I wouldn't necessarily say a huge belief system that they used to have, but maybe one that doesn't align with their family and friends anymore. In our industry, we call that coming out of the psychic medium closet. And it doesn't mean that you want to be a psychic medium. It means that you want to explore a spiritual path. And I have a lot in readings. This comes up quite a bit. It came up in a couple yesterday. I did a group reading for some people that the relatives will step up and say, don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Meaning that if your belief is in God and Jesus, or I know Iris is Jewish, if that's your belief system, you don't have to throw away your belief system to then travel a more spiritual path. Would you agree, Iris?
100%. Like, I grew up Orthodox Jewish, and there was a time in my life I totally rebelled. I became an atheist. Um, I didn't want anything to do with it because I felt that, my grandfather used to say this prayer every day, thanking God he wasn't born a woman. And I felt that why wouldn't you want to be me? And I just felt we couldn't we couldn't carry the Torah in those days. And it was really very difficult for me. And then as time went on, I realized I started to study Kabbalah because I have an interest in astrology. And I see how, the Jewish faith embrace my belief system and actually was part of creating the astrology system, and so, as we grow, and by the way, most of my family thinks I am out of my mind. They do not believe in astrology. They do not believe in what I do. But what are you going to do? Right. Like,
Right, exactly. You have to be your authentic self.
right. But I'm still myself. And so it's okay. Everyone doesn't have to have the same beliefs as you do to rebuild your tribe. I have found many other people who are in my tribe and who have become my family.
Yes. And I had a little bit different background than Iris. I'm Christian. I always laugh right here. As a matter of fact, if you're watching this on YouTube, I just realized I'm on a different screen than usual. And you can see I have some Bibles right there on my shelf. If you go out to my living room, I have a full, huge bookshelf full of Bible studies. I've done them my entire life. And, it was hurtful whenever I came out of the psychic medium closet, people coming at me, uh, blocking me, just saying horrible things about me. But I realized that the more I traveled down this spiritual path and found a like-minded tribe. So what is my mindset? And again, this is mine. It doesn't have to be everyone else's. It doesn't have to be Iris's. Mine is the path to God is through loving everyone around you. I have a joke that I say whenever that there's a reason why Jesus didn't give me that book to stand at the gates of heaven because he would have someone's name on the book okaying them, and I'd be like, Jesus, did you see what they did? I don't know. I don't think they should be in here. I don't have that book. It's not my job. My job is to vibrate in unconditional love of the divine or God, whatever your name is for that. So I was surprised. And as because you can ask Iris or anyone around me, I typically am just as loving as you see me on social media. So I was surprised that people would come at me with such hatred over the fact I was saying love each other.
Remember that doctor's office where they called you a devil worshiper?
Yes. So I went to a chiropractor and I'm wearing a shirt, which actually I got this shirt when I was with Iris at Lily Dell. And so I was back home going to the chiropractor's office. It was a cute little shirt with angel wings on it. And so the lady checking me out was talking about my shirt. I said, "Oh yeah, thank you. I got it at Lily Dell." And she's like, "What?" I said, "Okay, no, the psychic. My bad. I should not have said the psychic medium capital. He was in New York." And so she instantly just went off on, and so the first thing she said, and I was just like, "Please, lady, run my card. Just charge me. I got my back cracked. I'm trying to get out of here." And she's like, "Do you know how you get to heaven?" I was like, "Yes, I do. You die. That's how you get to heaven." And so that was not what she wanted to hear. And so she proceeded to pray for me and, say some things to me. But even then, I understand that we have a different belief system. I didn't judge her for it. It did kind of jar me because we were right there in a chiropractor's office. I was like, this is not the place to have this conversation. But even through that, everyone just needs to realize that people are doing what they can with what they have in their own belief system. So, I just took my card and smiled at her, wished her a good day, and left, but it can be a bit jarring.
And who even knows if you didn't open up her mind because you radiate such love and light that, she said that, and then maybe she felt badly later on because if she's truly a practicing Christian, then she would forgive and love.
It is. There is a story that Iris told me after we'd been, friends for a while. She has a social media person, and he did not realize at the time that Iris and I were friends. And so he came to her and he said, asked if she had seen that Christy Godwin on TikTok, that she was the kind Christian or the loving Christian or something.
He called you the real. He said she is a real Christian because she is kind. That's what he said.
Don't
The,
you love that? Yeah, I'm
real
makes me
Christian.
sad that they would say that about all Christians, but whatever. So whenever you're changing your belief system, you are going to have friends fall away. There have been many, many times where I would think about, oh, I haven't seen this one person come across my Facebook feed, and I would go and search them and realize that they had either blocked me or unfriended me. That's okay because they're just traveling their own path and we're traveling ours. How would you suggest people handling um, family members, Iris, who have just such a huge belief systems that are different?
Well, that's difficult. And it's been difficult in my own life for me
Mhm. Yeah.
because during COVID, I was living with my family and we did not see eye to eye on many different things. And I had to let go. I had to let go and walk away and from certain family members. And it's very devastatingly painful when these people have been your life and your support. So it was like someone had ripped out my heart and put only half back in. And so basically I have worked on myself and on forgiving and letting go. And that's all I can do is work on myself because these people aren't going to change unless they want to change. They're not going to change their beliefs. There's no winners or losers when it comes to this kind of, like, if you're not vibrating the same way your family is vibrating. And I am still going through that process and sending them love and light, because that's all I can do. Is when I think about them, I send them love. Um, and
Yeah.
when I see a picture of them, I send them love and I hope that they're well. And I continue to work on my spiritual development of letting go of, there's a winner and there's a loser. There's a right person and the wrong person. This is not a battle. It's a difference of um, it's a difference of the way we live our lives, and what we want to accomplish and be in these lives.
Absolutely. Thank you. That's beautifully said, Iris. And there is a term in the spiritual community called the dark night of the soul. Iris just described it so perfectly. Whenever you're starting to change and vibrate differently and you lose those people, and Iris mentioned it felt like half her heart had been ripped out. That's kind of the dark night of the soul, because you feel like you feel a little bit untethered, because your system that you functioned in and how you saw yourself on this planet is starting to change. And you haven't really developed this new way of being on this planet and brought these new people around you. And it truly does feel like the dark night of the soul. Iris just put it so beautifully about you can't change those other people. I know this is going to be what I'm about to say is going to be hard for people. It's a little bit egoic, meaning you're in your ego when you think people should believe what you believe. It's free will. And that's the reason Iris and I have stressed so much. It's not that you're right and they're wrong or vice versa. It's just you've changed paths. You're on a different path that doesn't align with theirs anymore. And that's okay. It's time to just go in a different direction. Now, Iris, whenever you're on this new path, how long do you think it takes people to come out of that dark night of the soul? Do you have a time frame? Was there a time frame for it?
You know, I want to say it's like the ocean. It kind of hits you in waves. I don't think it ever really ends, and I don't think there's really a beginning and an end. Like some days, it's really very difficult for me where, it could be a holiday or someone's birthday where I really miss them. So I send them love and light. I think, like it's been like almost 4 years for me. And it's still painful at times, and other days I don't think of it at all. So, when there's a big wave, I get knocked over sometimes and feel very sad. And then I could go weeks without thinking about it at all. So I'm going to say it's a process. It's almost as if when someone passes away, I feel it's very similar to that, because it's a death of a relationship as you knew it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the closest thing I can compare it to. It doesn't mean those people will never come into your life again, but it means that the relationship you had will no longer be there. Now, can it grow and get better? Absolutely. But that's a process, and it's a process that both parties have to work on. So if you're just rowing the boat and the other party isn't, it's going to be hard, and you can't make them row the boat towards you. They have to come to that themselves. And the only way you can really influence them is by being a beacon of light and living in your true self.
Thank you, Iris. That was beautifully put. I just recently did a series on TikTok talking about awakening your divine goddess within. And part of it was, I want you to think about for a minute how much energy we can expend making ourselves be different than what we are just to fit in.
Mm.
What would we look like if we took that energy and used that energy to walk in our own authentic light? And I promise everyone listening to this or watching this, this world needs your authentic light. We don't need two Irises or two Christies. We need everyone to be their authentic selves. And if you are expending energy to try to please others or to make yourself different than what you are, just to please someone else. I mean, if you want to go to the gym and change, that's completely different. But it has to be something you want to do within your heart, not something that you're doing just to please someone else. Now, Iris, how would you deal with people that are from your old belief system that you haven't talked to in a while, and they're not in alignment and they're coming at you over how you're living your life?
Um, I'm very kind, and I very kindly thank them for whatever they're saying. Thank you for your thoughts or your feelings. I don't argue with them because there's no argument. And I don't really defend myself. I don't get into it with them. I thank them for what they're saying and, let them know that I am not going to change who I am in a kind way. You know, I don't go after them because it's an argument that you can't really win. There's no winners.
No, this reminds me of how when I tell people that, you're never going to bring someone to Jesus by throwing a Bible at them. It's only through love that you will ever change anyone. And when I'm loving someone who is coming at me, I'm not actually trying to change them. I'm trying to keep myself centered and in the right vibration. So when everyone know when someone's coming at you and you are sending them love, for one thing, it is not weak. That's the hardest thing you can do is when someone is coming at you and judging you and saying nonsense about you to just turn and thank them and send them love. It's one of the hardest things you'll ever do. And you are not doing it for them. You're doing it to keep yourself in alignment and in the right vibration that you have fought so hard to be in. Now, how have you seen your own tribe grow and evolve as you have continued your spiritual journey?
Oh my God. I call this my
Aw.
third act. Now that's not to say, like, I still have friends from first grade who I talk to, from junior high, from high school. Like, I'm very close with a lot of people from my past. And a lot of them, interestingly enough, have grown along the same spiritual path, which is
Mhm.
crazy because I grew up in the Chicago area, but a lot of them are along the same path or a similar path that I am on. So we do have a lot of things in common. I remember going to my 20th high school reunion, and I said to a friend, "Oh my God, we're into all the same things. We're talking about metaphysics and she said, "Of course we are. Why do you think we're friends?" And I like it was like, of course we are. Now, Christy, I forgot your question because I got so into my story.
How have you seen your tribe grow and evolve
Oh,
as you've
and
continued your
so
spiritual journey?
so basically what I've done is I still have my friends from college. It's like I add people, like when I find someone who's really special, I try to introduce them to all my friends.
Yeah.
I will have parties. I will, because I'm an Aquarian. I want to share everybody. By the way, Aquarians rule community and tribe. And Pluto is going into Aquarius on November 19th for the next 20 years. It's dipped its toe in twice. It's
Mhm.
going to stay there now for 20 years. And this is such a beautiful time to build your tribe because it's what's going to be happening during the next 20 years. So this is going to be about us building and working in our communities. And so I have always been that way. So if I find someone I like, I introduce them to all my friends.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, I do want to talk a little bit about this also because it didn't occur to me until Iris was talking that I've seen so many people of our friends build their tribes and they all do it differently. So yes, Iris does exactly what she said. And I know I know most of her friends now. I'm sure not most of them because she has thousands, but you know what I mean. I know a lot of them because she's introduced me. And same when she comes to see me, I'll introduce her to some of my friends. So Iris and I's personality are about the more the merrier. So that is something that we are about. But also something I just kind of created, I was gonna say I created my own tribe. I did it because I saw people were searching. When I started teaching my classes, I saw that this community that they were building, even outside of the classroom, because they're on my screen weekly and they were getting each other's phone numbers and staying in contact and they still stay in contact. And then I know that people were still searching, so then I created the Divine Collective, which is a membership program. We meet several times a month and you can ask spiritual questions. So I know people that have done it other ways, like they're continual learners where they're just constantly taking these classes so that they are picking up people at all these classes and staying in contact with them. So find something that vibes with you. I know some people, Iris is such a beautiful introducer of people. She is great at that, introducing people and making her tribe bigger. If you find something that works for you, do it. And build your tribe in the way that fits you. Now, Iris, what is something that you wish you had known sooner about rebuilding your community? Something that would help the listeners along this path?
I wish I knew that losing someone important in my life was actually an opportunity for growth. Because, earlier, when I was younger, it was so like I love my friends, and it was so devastating to me. I feel like my friends are pieces of gold to me. And it was so devastating to me that I thought, like no one is going to replace them. I had a very close friend um, pass away about 10, 15 years ago, and no one could replace her. That's correct. But other people come into your life, and it did give me a chance to grow. And now that I'm a psychic medium, she comes in all the time, so I don't miss her as much. But
Does
but
her name start with P?
it starts with P.
Very good.
Her name is Penny. And anyway, but my point is that, I wish I knew that, because then I think I would have started to try to, do things that I liked to build my tribe sooner, instead of, it's like a death. It really always felt like a death. And so I would be in mourning. I would talk about it nonstop, to the point where, one of my friends said, Iris, I love you, but you need a therapist. You need to go into therapy. So, and so I wish I knew that.
Yes, yes, yes.
Me also trying to prove how I was right and they were wrong. And I realized as I've grown spiritually, as I said before, there's no right, there's no wrong. It is what it is. And you're each growing differently. So I think those are the two things I wish I knew.
For me, I wish I had understood that I will meet and I will find my tribe, because when you're going through that dark night of the soul, sometimes it feels like that you're never going to be able to find like-minded people, that you're never going to be able to find anyone to have those crazy conversations that you can have with people who just take you for who you are. I wish I had understood that who I am is fine. I don't need to be who society says I need to be. And I said this before, and I really felt like looking back, and this is something I've said recently, that the dogma of some of the Bible studies I did caused me to be less kind. That wasn't who I was. I have truly, I mean, I struggled in some of the Bible studies I would be in because I just did not understand how my God would want me to judge other people or say who you should be able to marry or should would want me to say, who someone on this earth could be with or what they should choices they should be making. Like if it didn't hurt you, why would we care? So I really struggled with that. And after I released my attachment to that dogma, I actually became a even kinder person, a more loving person, because I don't really care now when people say, you should do this, you should do that. Well, I can only be me. That's all I can do.
Exactly.
Yes. So, Iris, so let's talk about something which this isn't for Iris. I'm popping a question on her. She's probably like, oh Lord, what's she gonna ask me? So as you are on this spiritual path and you're peeling back the layers of who you are authentically, it helps you see other people for who they are and their motives. And sometimes we end up not liking what we're seeing.
Mhm.
And so this is, we talked about losing some friendships earlier on, but we didn't really talk about the down and dirty of it. So that is the down and dirty. Sometimes when you're on this path and you are peeling back your own layers and becoming a more authentic version, you see that people around you aren't behaving in a manner that aligns with you anymore.
Mm.
And so how do you handle that? Do you just put up a boundary and cut them off? Do you address them up front? Do you say, hey, you're not acting in a manner that I approve of? How do you handle that?
Well, it depends on the situation. So I used to, because I have Aries rising and Mars in Aries, and I'm very fiery. I used to pick a fight with them and blow it up. So I would throw a bomb in and blow it up because I was right and they were wrong. I've come a long way. And now I will tell them in a kind way, like that I feel differently about whatever it is, or that I feel that they didn't act appropriately. But I don't any longer throw a bomb in. And then basically, I will put up, a boundary. Like maybe I won't invite them to a party anymore. I might meet them on occasion. Maybe I won't spend as much time with them. Maybe I will not invite them to things anymore where they could create a scene, or with like-minded people. So, I will tell them, but in a kind way, I'm not feeling the same way as you are. And maybe we shouldn't talk about this. Or, this is how I feel. I feel we're so far. I mean, look at what's been going on with the election. I have people on both sides of the fence. And typically the ones that I disagree with, I basically don't talk to them about it. Um, and but there is a bit of a boundary there with me and them, because it's like if they politically believe what they believe, they have every right to do that. But I feel differently and my life is lived differently. So I put up, it depends on what the situation is, the boundary that I put up. But I no longer am throwing torpedoes at people.
That is true. I've seen Iris through. I can still remember we were somewhere specifically, and she's about third. And I can still we're sitting at a table. I'm eating. I think I was eating, and I'm just eating. It's like Iris, you might want to stop.
Yeah,
Iris
you
might
could
not want to
stop.
do that.
Couldn't. I could not stop.
No, she did not stop. But this is how we handle it differently, though. So I like to envision maybe Iris between the two of us, we could start handling it better because I might could take some of Iris's because what I do is I just put up a boundary and I'm done. I'm better about discussing it with people. But before this is the Pisces in me, I would just take it and take it and take it. And then when I'm done, I'm done.
And that's a
Which,
pipe.
yeah, which is not really a good way to handle relationships. You want to be able to work through them. You want to voice your opinion. Now, once I have voiced my opinion several times, if my boundaries are continually trampled over, and I think everyone has their their own things, but mine is drama. Don't bring drama into my life because I will put up a boundary real quick. Iris's is, some other things. I'll let Iris speak for herself, but that's one of my big ones. But before, I would just cut people off. But after I've been on this path, I tend to now discuss it with them and give them a chance to understand what my boundary is. Now, the difference here is I'm not asking them to change. I'm putting up a boundary of what the expectation for how you act around me and treatment of me is. Then, if you continually just be mean, that's another one of mine. I cannot stand a bully or someone who is mean around me, then I will put up a boundary and just back off from you. So you're not asking people to change. You're just saying, around me, I can't do that.
Mine's dishonesty and betrayal.
Oh, yeah. Iris definitely has this thing with betrayal
and dishonesty.
And dishonesty. That is absolutely right. But isn't that the truth? I had someone the other day, a friend of mine, who was just like lying by omission. All of us can handle just about anyone saying, you know what? I know you don't agree with this, but I just have to let you know I'm going to do it. Like I own it. I own that I'm going to do this. You might not agree with it. As long as it doesn't affect you and their behavior is not negative onto you.
Or they're hurting anyone else.
Correct. Right. If it's your own shenanigans, then that's your business. So, Iris, what are your last minute advice for anyone listening or watching this?
So I would say that it's building your own tribe, it's a fortunate opportunity. It's a chance when people leave your life to make lemonade out of lemons. And I know that phrase has been used so many times, but if I look at where I am now with my life and my tribe, it's the happiest I've ever been. I really feel like I am more content, spiritually, intellectually, and physically. I mean, and I'm saying all of those things because I feel like the people in my life encourage me to be the best version of me. And that's really important because people who build you up, and I'm not talking about superficially, but a lot of people try to tear you down when you try to change, because if it's like you've been doing the cha-cha with them for all these years, and then all of a sudden you want to do the rumba and they're still doing the cha-cha. They're like, wait a minute, you got to come back and cha-cha with me. And so I really feel that, this is an opportunity. So I would say turn these losses of friends or that you're changing and moving away from people into an opportunity to become the best version of yourself and surround yourself with people who support you in your community.
That's beautiful, Iris. Thank you. Thank you. That is absolutely beautiful. Also, I want to remind people that when you are going through that dark night of the soul, and I don't think I've ever heard anyone describe it as beautifully or as perfectly as Iris did when she felt like half of her heart had been ripped out and not returned because you feel so alone and misunderstood. Know that if you take the step to put yourself out there around like-minded people by taking classes, volunteering for things that you care about, you will start replacing your tribe. And I promise you, one or two people that you can really trust and that are vibrating and understand you is better than 50 acquaintances who don't understand what you're going through. Now, if anyone would like to get in touch with Iris, I will have all her contact information on the verbiage of this, whether you're listening to it on a podcast outlet or watching it on my YouTube channel. But in the short version is you can catch her at Iris at askirisLibby.com. She has a beautiful website. She is a phenomenal astrologer, psychic medium. So go check her out. Follow her on all of the social media outlets. She's everywhere. Thank you, Iris, for being here.
Thank you, Christy. Thank you for inviting me.
I want to thank everyone who has visited with Iris and I today, and I hope everyone has a wonderful day.